Welcome to Two Grumpy People's Attractions That Should Be Made.
This is our second in our series of movies and TV shows that should be turned into Disney attractions, although they probably never will be. And today we're going to talk about one that's a huge, sort of a classic, very popular, not originally Disney movie that for some reason doesn't exist outside of the movie sphere, and that's FernGully.
So that's 2 out of 2 so far that basically doesn't exist outside of its movie.
Yeah, which is one reason we think it would make such a great ride.
Yeah.
So for us, for me, when I was thinking of the FernGully ride, I wasn't thinking of necessarily completely reenacting the movie, but maybe just playing on the one central theme of the movie, or the one central conflict in the movie, which is of the loggers coming in to destroy their forest, but in particular their one tree, and their fight to save their tree.
Yeah.
And when we were just discussing it a couple of minutes ago, I was saying, and I don't know if you agree with this, but instead of having it come from the perspective of you're the good guy, you're one of the little fairies or what have you, or being a central character, instead taking you to be in the role of, I guess you could say, the villain or the bad guy, which really are people who don't see themselves as villains or bad guys. They're just guys there to do a job. So there you are in your giant magical Dr. Seussian logging machine, there to cut down some trees, and then of course you're going to run into just a little bit of a snag.
Things are happening that you weren't quite expecting, needless to say. Those of you who have seen the movie know what we're going on about.
And what I'd like to see this done is sort of like a motion simulator 3D type show, but not just like Star Wars where you're in a
capsule that shakes and stuff like that. No, do it more of an open air one, kind of like Back to the Future was, and kind of like the Simpsons ride is now, where you're just lifted up into this dome where everything's projected around you, and you're in a shaking vehicle of some sort.
Yeah. Yeah, so you get much more of a realistic feeling of you're actually flying, moving
through space when you're just in one space.
Right, and you think about the capacity of Back to the Future or The Simpsons when they changed it over. They get a lot of people because there are multiple cars in there.
Yes, there's hundreds.
You're just not aware of them as the show goes on around you.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you are in your logging machine. Just cutting down trees. You see the trees flying left and right, and then I think the first thing that happens is one of the fairies appears, maybe in like you have a little video monitor on your console there in front of you, and you see the little fairy show up, and it's trying to talk to you, but of course you're too busy with everything that goes around you, and then the next thing you know, it's in there with you, it's flying around in your face, it's trying to get your attention. They could poke you in the back with a stick, and you would get that air blast just like you do in Bug's Life through your seat, and you would be looking around, and then it would fly in your face, and it would be buzzing at you, trying to talk to you. But again, you're not going to heat it in time, and then that's it's going to try to get you to stop the machine. So the machine's going to start going wrong on you. Maybe it'll pull a wire loose or something, and then your machine goes haywire on you. And you're in the machine, so you're feeling it vibrate and wildly gyrate around, and you see the arms and the buzzing saws just sort of flying around. You're like, oh no, that's not better. And then should Hexus appear, do you think, at that point?
I think it would be really cool, because that was what was making from the killing of all the trees, Hexus came about.
So so Hexus would come out, he's free, you're like, oh no, that's a terrible thing. So now you want to fight Hexus, but
he wants to keep going on. You want to say, oh, okay, we'll stop, we'll get out of here. No, he wants to, no, we're going to keep going.
Yeah, and and here's the thing, you could hear in your headset, You
Yes.
could hear like the tin voice of your fellow loggers going, "Let's get out of here!" And then maybe someone saying, "We can't. The hatch is shut. It won't let us out." Something along those lines to play up the whole scenario for you, because obviously there's some things you can't do, but you might be thinking.
Yes.
So that helps to play that aspect a little bit for you, make it more real for you being the actual person in there.
Yeah, to not feel like you're just sitting there and watching.
You supposedly have control over the equipment, but you really don't.
Of course not. But it's supposed to feel as if you would have.
They could give you some little buttons to push like they do in
but
Mission Space.
But if you do, make them actually be worthwhile.
If you do, make them actually do something.
They do that in a lot of situations. They can press A, B, or C, and one of the three scenarios will play out.
I think
that's
could be
what
the
it
ending.
should do.
What I think would be really cool is because there are actually multiples, and in this case they could actually show you the multiples because you're there with a big mega giant corporation. So maybe there are multiple log cutting machines and you're all on the same team cutting these logs. So maybe at that point Hexus has taken over all the machines. Now it's moved from your machine into all of them. So you can look out and you can see this giant black Hexus taking over the landscape, taking over all the machines.
So at this point it's going past the Back to the Future or Simpsons feel.
It's going
and
even
going
beyond.
a little bit into a scenario similar to one you would see if they still have it at Nicktoons Blast, where it's a big theater with all these cars and you're seeing this huge screen in front of you.
And at this point you could you hear the voice of the team leader shout out to you, "I have an idea. If we all do this at the same time, we can defeat him." So if everybody does whatever their little button or whatever tells them, like pushes it 100 times or dials it to the right quickly enough or whatever. So if everybody takes that action, or enough of the cars take that action, it automatically switches you to a different mode. But if everybody doesn't take that action, you follow a second line to the. So that's, you have these alternate possible endings depending on whether the computer reads that enough people had taken the proper action or not. So you're part of a team then, and your action actually does have
And we know that
import.
they can do, multiple finales and stuff.
If you think about the technology they're using in Spaceship Earth.
Yes, where they have the little video at the end that you can do.
That you choose your own ending,
Yeah.
which is kind of cheesily done, but the concept is, the ideal is there, the proof of concept is there. If 20 out of the 30 cars take the action, they'd have some set percentage that has to happen. And if you meet that threshold with your action, whatever that action is, then you get the alternative ending.
And maybe it's a slightly variable number based on capacity.
Yes.
If it's at max capacity, obviously you want to set that number
well, they could set
different.
that for like a percentage rather than a specific
Yeah,
number.
I would say percentage.
If at least 60%
pushes the button,
meet the criteria, then it does it. And which would be kind of cool, because for those of us who ride rides multiple times and always want to experiment and see, don't push it, let's see what happens, and you get your alternate ending.
An ending where it's like, okay, you failed.
Yeah, you failed the mission. Or even if you win, you have to win it through an alternate means, because you didn't use your doomsday figured out
You didn't
concept.
shut down the system, so
we must all turn it off at the same time, because he can hop from one to the other. So if only one of us is shut off, he still can draw power. But so we must all shut down at the same time.
All right, 3, 2, 1, button
Boom.
press. And as long as enough of you press it, it'll shut down and he'll go away. But if you don't, it's like, okay.
Okay, now there has to be some giant explosion
Not enough
at
of you
the
did
end or
that,
something.
So
the fairies have to get together and all use their magic at once, and so they save your butt, basically. So you can either be saved by the fairies or saved by
yourself. So whether you want to believe in magic or not.
I believe!
Clap 3 times as hard as you can. Okay. If you believe, slap yourself as hard as you can.
No, I'm not doing that. That will be one I'd always get the alternate ending on.
Yeah.
But that would be a great ride. Wouldn't take up an extreme amount of space. They can make it as big or as small as they want, depending on how many ride cars they want to add. Mm-hmm. I think it would be very popular because A, you're going to get the people who love fairies. You're going to get the people who love the environmental message. You're going to get the people who like the adventures. You're going to get the technophiles who want to do the whatever it is you have to do to accomplish to beat Hexus.
And you know what? I just thought of a great place to stick it. You know what they could do? They could tear out that stupid Circle of Life little video upstairs in the Land Pavilion and put it in there.
Oh,
Give it a second good attraction over there.
In Epcot. Yeah, it would fit in Epcot now that I think about it.
Because if you're talking about a heavy-handed...
Yeah, I wasn't thinking of even putting it there. I was thinking it more in terms of fairies with Fantasyland.
Well, because if they do fairies in Fantasyland, they'll end up making it Tinkerbell.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you'll have Peter Pan's Tinkerbell
It would have
flight.
too much of a... It would have to have a little bit more of a cutesy angle. Yeah. And we want to kind of stick with the heavy-handed, scary angle a little more. So yeah, I think putting it in the land would be
and it would be a bit more of a conservation. Oh my God, we should do something.
And there's not enough in Tomorrowland. I mean, in
Epcot.
In Epcot's future world. I mean,
yeah, we already have Soarin' in that pavilion, but I mean,
which is way too busy. So if you gave something that could draw some of that crowd off of Soarin', it would help.
Yeah, they could go do that while they're waiting for their fast pass for Soarin'. You know, if nothing else.
Yeah, because Circle of Life, it was cute the first time, but it's old. It's
just
really
going into a standard movie theater and you watch a video clip. The same kind of video clip you can watch anywhere in the world now.
Yeah.
It's nothing special. They could put it on the web.
Yeah, yeah, it could still exist out there on YouTube or what have you, Hulu.
It really doesn't need to be a whole attraction anymore, even though it was really small.
It was cute when it first came out.
I mean, you have Listen to the Land, which is good.
I mean, you think about how successful
a really
Star Tours
secondary big attraction would be great.
And you at the studios, at the Disney Studios, that thing is hugely successful, wildly popular, and the actual ride is just a cheap motion simulator.
Very simplistic.
And very simplistic. How many ride vehicles do they have for Star Tours?
I believe 6.
6?
I think there's 6 motion
It doesn't
sims.
seem like it, of course, when you're going to get on. You think it's only 1 or 2.
There might be 9, because I know they're in chunks. There's like groups of them.
But, I mean, that takes up a very large space, because there are 6, and because they have the huge line queue.
Well, and,
so,
and
I mean, would you want to do that with FernGully? Here's a thought. Why not have the entrance to FernGully be the other attraction, the one where they ride you through the greenhouse and all that? Yeah. Listen to the Land is maybe not as popular as it used to be, so you would get more people on Listen to the Land. That would slow down the queue quite a bit. Or even have 2 queue lines, one that you enter directly, and one that you enter through Listen to the Land. Possibly
kind of do like how in the Living Seas, where you go through that one ride to get to the pavilion.
Yeah. How about fast passing it? If you fast pass it, you go directly on. If you don't want to fast pass and you want to do standby, you go through the Listen to the Land. And,
I think they could probably just cut some of Listen to the Land. Just get rid of a little bit of it. I know. It's one of the few things that's still around.
It's still educational,
park opening.
Truly educational. No other purpose to it.
Yeah, it's one of the few things around from park opening.
And then you get a view of Listen to the Land from the restaurant, so you might know.
Well, I didn't say cut that end of it. I said cut the beginning end of it. Okay. There's several different ways of fitting it in there. However you want to do it.
There's definitely room in that building to put something else in there. I mean, hey, get rid of the stupid food court, because that food court is pretty lame. It's lame.
Yeah, that one's. It needs to either be fixed back up and actually working again, or just completely
work it as a proper food court, something. Because
there's room for extra queue then if you get rid of that food court.
Yeah. And it's always so busy, but it's not because it's great. It's because that's the only place in that building to sit and eat, and there aren't enough booths. And
yeah. I mean, it's just busy with people waiting. Yeah. Lots of people waiting. That's. Really Soarin' kind of fits because the whole place just feels like an airport.
It does.
It really does when you get inside. It feels like an airport.
Yeah. Other than the restaurant, what's there? Soarin' in the restaurant, really. And everything else is just stuff to do to busy yourself until your fast pass time or your restaurant reservation time. That's really all the rest of that stuff is.
Busy work.
You actually find yourself walking around the hallway, around the upstairs balcony, kind of looking at the wall, going, "Is there anything else to read? Oh, here's a sign. Read this." So they definitely need to do something with that place.
Yeah.
So we gave you the ideal. Disney, use it.
Yeah, utilize that.
Okay, so that's Two Grumpy People's latest What Movie Ought to Be a Ride, and stay tuned to the next time when we talk about something.
Or something else.
Or something else.